Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us online today to this webinar in partnership with Audencia Business School. Today, we are really glad to welcome Shyla DU COSQUER from Audencia, as well as Sarah OUADAH from Capgemini, and Eric Egiziano from Horizon Consulting. So Shyla, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. Hello, everyone. It is my pleasure to be moderating this roundtable. Obviously, the topic that we've picked is human resources, what models for tomorrow. We have all realized that ever since last year, with the pandemic that came and hit us, our lives have changed. The way in which we live and also the way in which we work has evolved rapidly. So today, what our intention that we have with this conference is to shed a little bit more light on the HR perspective. We will be talking a little bit more on the recruitment trends that are happening within the HR world. Talent retention is becoming a hot topic, and also the way in which employees and organizations are working are evolving. All right. So first, let me introduce myself because I just spoke about the topic. So my name is Shyla DU COSQUER. I'm a consultant at the Audencia Career Center. We work with all our students and alumni on their professional projects, and our goal is to help them find their unique career paths that make them happy. Today with me, I have two fantastic experts. I have Sarah, who's based here in France, and she's going to talk to us a little bit more on her perspective with multinationals because she's with Capgemini at the moment, and it'll be interesting to have her perspective on that. And Eric is our expert recruiter, headhunter, and he has experience across continents. So he does know the French markets as well as the Chinese markets really well. And for today's conference, what I think will be really interesting is to also get a perspective on what's happening in Europe and in France, and to see how it is assimilating with also the trends that are happening in Asia and in China. Okay, so just one or two important things for the audience. I would request all of you to have obviously your microphones off. And secondly, we'd like to have it interactive. So please do feel free to give us your questions. You have a chat box. So feel free to put in your questions in there and I will take them as and when they come along. Because I think Eric and Sarah would love to also reply to whatever queries that you may have or that things that you're facing today in your current professional lives. Okay? I'm going to try and do a lot less talking from now on, and I'll give the floor. First, maybe I'll let Eric introduce himself, and then it'll be Sarah.
Thank you, Shyla. Thank you, everyone. So hello, everyone. I'm based in Shanghai now, and I'm an entrepreneur and a former HR in France, in Europe, and in Asia. And I'm lucky to start my own company 3 years ago, and I've been working as a headhunter for 14 years in France first, and after in China. And you can imagine so many things to do in China, in Asia, and because we need people, we need talents, and it's great to, as headhunter, to work in a growth context compared to what's happening in Europe. That's fine. And I came from Marseille, and very happy to have few funny people in Marseille, in Shanghai, and we are very linked to the European community. This is.
Thank you, Eric. Sarah, I'd let you introduce yourself.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm really happy and thank you for the invitation on this webinar. I'm very happy to share my perspective on the French and European markets. I've been working. I'm a graduate actually from Audencia. I graduated in 2010. time goes so fast. So I already remember the first day I was at school. Since then, I have been working as a headhunter for 3 years, mostly for the North African markets, but finding resources in Europe or all over the world. Then I joined the consulting world, joining Capgemini Consulting 8 years ago, which is now called Capgemini Invent, and I work on projects related to change management within different kind of transformation. It may be digital transformation, reorganization, new ways of working. I've been working also on projects such as GDPR rollouts, which is a specificity from Europe, the regulation regarding data, employee data, personal data. And I'm still recruiting from an operational point of view, because as a senior manager, I also recruit for teams, consultants, senior consultants who will join also the firm. So I will share my experience from what I know in terms of recruitment from my company perspective, and also from the new ways of working, as I'm also working on a project on new ways of working for my the group, Capgemini Group.
Thank you very much, Sarah. So I'm actually quite curious. I'd like to know from both of you, tell me how has really the pandemic changed your life in a professional sense, and how has the role of technology changed ever since? Who'd like to go first? Sarah, why don't you go first, and then I'll let Eric.
Yes. So actually, it didn't really change the way we work. It really changed the frequency of interaction we have. As in the normal workplace, you bump into people, you have, I would say, casual interactions where you can also share information, ask questions. So it needed to reflect more about what are the rituals or routines that you need to put in place to replace those informal conversations. So this is what we had to change in terms of routines. In terms of tools, usually we used to work with Teams, the Microsoft suites. So with some clients, we were already used to work with this, because some of them were in other countries in France. So that was not a major change, but I assume it depends also on the maturity of the company regarding video conferences. And what's changed also is what changes is from a personal point of view. It has given us more flexibility, flexibility in the way you organize your day, letting the space for the personal life also, but also requiring people to organize and put clear boundaries between the time they are working and the time they really cut and stop working to dedicate to their personal life. So that's my general view, I would say.
Absolutely. Eric?
Yes, the pandemic was terrible, sure, because everyone suffered. But the good point is I can see my team. I can observe my team. They change the behavior, because you can imagine last year we cut the air conditioner, we cut the heater, and it was too cold to work in the office. So my team members can work at home. You need to know in China, usually the team members, they don't like to work at home. They want to be in front of you, in front of the management. They want to be in the office, close to you. Very strange. So thanks to this situation, we still working, and we are working from home. And now in my team, we are 5 in my huge company, 5 people. And actually, all the team members decide the planning. So it's very convenient, because we're discussing with people, discussing like on phone, on video, and face-to-face meeting. So it's really, really a new way to work for us as a small consulting firm inside. For the client's part, it's like everyone. We need to meet people. We have more insights in our job in recruitment. You have much more insight when you are in front of people. So it's better to meet people in face-to-face, in a cafe, in a lobby, in a hotel, in the office. Sometimes you cannot. And in China, we are already in advance because people, they like to use WeChat as a super video tool because it's very convenient, very efficient. So it means we propose a choice to the candidates. Do you want to have a face-to-face meeting? Great. Or do you want to have a video if you are far away or if we are hunting people? For the client's part, it's always better to see them than to see them face-to-face, only if they are very, very far away, or maybe some of them, they are still abroad in Europe. So we are working with them at distance. That's why. So after for the tools, we use much more the cloud solutions to share the information with the team, like everyone. And it's quite convenient. And we still have a laptop. We still have a mobile phone, quite easy to walk everywhere. But it's not, it was normal to do that in this job.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So I did hear Teams, a lot of Teams for Sarah, and WeChat has largely been something that you've used a lot of. Great. As we go along, we'll also explore, we'll come back to tools and what helped us also get through this pandemic regularly, okay, as we go along. So I'd like to probably kickstart with maybe something on recruitment. I want to know, how has virtual recruiting worked out for the two of you? Because that's been always something that we've said we need to meet people to recruit. And this year that hasn't been possible. So why don't you go first, Eric, to say how have you had your role as a recruiter?
It's true, because last year from February to April, impossible to meet people. They don't want to have any face-to-face meeting. People are afraid. Used to have afraid, and so we have a video. And after we come back, so it means. The first point in our job is to have a first contact, to have contact on the phone, from email, and after to have a physically image of the people, to see emotions, to see behavior, to see the words, to listen to the things. And after, we always give a choice to the people. And usually, no matter the candidate or people, they prefer to have a face-to-face meeting if they are around, because it's easy, it's very convenient. And usually we're quite bad. We offer to go to a nice cafe, to have a nice opening discussion, and to step more link. After, some of them, if they are very far away, they don't have a choice. No need to take the plane. No need. Because we start relation. In our job in recruitment, the point is we don't hire for one shot. More we know people, more is better. So more I know you, more I can maybe capitalize on what about your project and what you want to do, who you are in a way. The more I know you, more is better. So the best is to have a lunch or a dinner with people. Lunch, let's say just a lunch with people. That's fine. But sometimes we cannot. And sometimes the language, it's a boundary. But that's why we are a team working together. So we offer the options. The point is, before, when I start my job as HR, we have only a face-to-face meeting. It was 20 years ago. It's like this. And after, as a consultant, we use Skype in Europe. We propose Skype when people are abroad or very far away. And now we, as a consultant, we propose both together. And people decide what is better.
And the people can choose.
Exactly, it's better, more convenient.
Okay, excellent. Sarah, what about for you, recruiting?
So the perspective is a bit different, because as a headhunter, you need to build a longer term relationship for a certain position or for a future position. For us, the stakes are more on a short term basis. So it does not really make a difference to have them in a physical, in a face-to-face mode or in Teams mode. So as far as I know from the recruitment team and from my side in the interviews I've made, it was quite similar. It worked also with Teams. We had a huge volume. So the recruitment slowed down last year, and the middle of last year it was frozen, but it started again to grow at the end of last year, and this beginning of year it's jumping. So we have huge volume of recruitments that are led with Teams. Maybe until today, it's I would say the norm, with some exceptions on the closing interview, because we have a four-step round with different people in this interview. So it did not really evolve in the way we the process. What have evolved, if I can also develop that point, what have evolved is more the expectations of candidates, as the financial solidity of companies have been very valued last year, as we saw many companies being threatened by the crisis. Candidates are more and more sensitive to the financial solidity of the company, comparing, for example, to startups, which was the other way around last year or in 2019, where startups were all the rage for young students or graduates. And they also are worried about the atmosphere, more soft, I would say soft qualities from the company and the atmosphere there is, because working from home in a remote mode requires for them more, I would say, better atmosphere, more qualities from the manager they will have. So they expect more interpersonal relationships and authentic relationships with their colleagues. So they are caring about these qualities, actually. And also I had also feedback regarding worrying about the onboarding. How will I be onboarded as a young student, young graduate? So I want to jump on this topic.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about onboarding as well. Great. But good transition. Sarah, somewhere you mentioned that hiring has gone up. So for me, again, I'd like to know from the two of you, what is the market looking like? Is hiring back on trend? And what is the market looking like in France, and then a little bit in China? Eric, do you want to tell us about how hiring is in China?
China is booming. We are full.
Okay.
And my colleagues for the over 100 are the same. For example, we are 5 people. We are running 40 projects at the same times. Globally, it's focusing on middle manager. It means we need white collar. We need white collar to run the operations, no matter the operations. We need people to do the things, much more Chinese people, Chinese talents, English speaker. We don't have a huge market for the top leaders. Why? Because what's happened in Europe and in the US, everything is blocked. And because the boundaries are closed, it means as the foreigners cannot come to China, or as a foreigner out of my visa, if I left China, I cannot come back. So we don't have a flow of people, and so many expatriates as a CEO or GM stay on the position. So normally later I should be back, but we have a situation for a long time already, because the situation is quite efficient. It means the leaders still leaders, and now we need people to do the things. That's why. So it's a great year for us, and probably the worst is behind us in China. This is cool. So in Asia, Hong Kong is suffering, Singapore is suffering. Talk about economy and recruitment point of view, because when I discuss with my competitors or colleagues or from the market candidates, and for the sectors, some sectors are still booming, like luxury is booming, services, digital, e-commerce, cosmetics, manufacturing, B2B a lot. That's why. So we see cycles in a way. So as a generalist and hunter, this is great for us. But the point is not to find the clients. The point is to find talents. This is the issue, and because everyone is hiring people, so we prospect companies, sure, but we are following our current clients or new clients. But the point is, in this market, still very, very competitive. What about the criteria? What about the project? We will talk later about that.
Yeah,
but we are lucky.
Sure thing. Interesting. Very nice. So it's good to see that the Chinese market is booming already, which is positive for all of us. And I did make note that Hong Kong, Singapore is probably suffering a little bit, but it's also good to see there are specific sectors that are doing extremely well. So if there are people connected here who are exploring markets and opportunities in China, there's obviously luxury, service, e-commerce, and everything that's linked to digital, of course, which is taking on like a really big lead. Great. Sarah, why don't you tell us a little bit about how it's working out with Capgemini in France?
Yeah, I can't speak about the whole market because I'm not.
Of course, in your perspective.
But I agree with Eric in the way he's saying that there is a race for talents that is very key and challenging at the moment. From our side, that's the case because we are in the Capgemini, the IT company. We have a consulting subsidiary, Capgemini Invent. And both IT and consulting skills are important in the transformation that are happening, meaning digital transformations to help companies to support these new ways of working, meaning working from home, working with new tools. And companies need to reflect on the reorganization they may need to put in place regarding the changes and the efficiencies they need after one difficult year. So transformation, general transformation is also a hot topic at the moment. Consulting skills are looked for. So that's my perspective on that.
Excellent. So I guess all our students and alumni who want to work in consulting, it's good news for them for the future.
Yes,
I'm curious to know. Yeah, sorry. I'm curious to know. I'm assuming you still continue to do your interviews and your recruiting via the digital tools that you mentioned, but has the process changed in any way? In the sense that are there any online tests that you're integrating? Are there online assessment centers? Has anything in the process of recruitment changed over the last year and a half? Or it's remained pretty standard? Eric, I can see you.
Yeah, sure. Still the same because we decide with the clients or we propose the solutions. But actually, the best tool for me, two tools, is the interview, the normal interview to go deeper, 1 hour, 1 hour 15, it depends. But we discuss before the interview and after the interview. The follow-up is very, very important because you can. So this is something. Let's say international. And another point is the business case. This is not something specific to the virus. We don't care, but I propose more and more. I propose for the board members or some experts to focus on a business case, or according to the specialty. And you can see the behavior. You can see the insights. You can see people are playing the game or not. That's why. So this is something quite efficient because it's factual, it's rational. And at the same time, some people, they don't want to do it. Some people, they are ready to do it. Some people, they do it. And some people, they cannot do it. You can see.
All right. Excellent. Sarah, do you want to add anything or you're good?
No, I mean, the process is the same. It's a 4-step process with the HR interview, just to know the situation of the candidate, case study, to know how the people interact, how they think, what are their reasoning, their structure, and their ability to communicate. And also another interview to develop the skills. What are the skills behind the CV more deeply than for the first HR interview. And then the fourth step is the closing with the head of the practice that the candidate would join. So normally with four points of view, that gives a good decision point at the end. Yes.
Excellent. And you brought up another topic which was linked to skills. I'm actually curious to know, again, we're talking a lot about the future of work and skills. Now, do you see also pre-pandemic and now, is there a change in skills that you are hiring for or not really? And then I'll come back to where we could be heading to in the future.
No change. From my point of view, no change, because the real point is, I will share with all the students, please take care about your soft skills, the codes, the famous codes, no matter you are working in Europe, in Asia, in US, in America, the codes to be clear, to be polite, to be easy, to facilitate the discussion. And sometimes, I tell you the truth, I'm very sad when I discuss with some young French people in Shanghai. They speak French very bad way, with a very, very bad way. And it's mistakes. And so they don't have, some of them, they don't have a code. So we are lucky because as senior people, maybe we have a code or we have some codes and the codes are changing, but the common sense doesn't change. So always come back to the common sense is, this is something we lack of common sense. We miss common sense, I promise you. As headhunter, this is when I find people with this common sense, I push a lot. I try to impact the clients, or I try to be out of the box. And this is so important. So that's why out of the pandemic, this point about the values of people, the behavior of people, the way to communicate, no matter the country, is so important. And if you don't know, in China we talk about the guangxi, the face, whatever. But this is worldwide. No matter you are European or you are Asian people, this is the same. Respect people. One point is respect people. Respect companies, respect organization. Be on time, share information, be sincere.
Excellent. What about you, Sarah? What are your thoughts on the skills?
Well, I think the basics are the same, though I expect that there are more expectations from us considering the new ways of working, but we can talk about that later in the conversation, that some skills will be more and more important in terms of ability to listen, to have empathy, to communicate clearly, and also to be agile in a way, being able not to just rely on her or his own competencies, but learn to learn and learn continuously, and not be stressed about being in a stretch position or in a difficult or complex situation at work. So we need to also test that in this situation or case study that we have in these interviews. Yes.
Absolutely. And in fact, that's one of the things that come up regularly, even with a lot of our companies that we work with here in France, where, like Eric mentioned, the soft skills becomes really important. So my question to both of you would be, if when you hire someone, and if you were to look at the soft skills part of it, what are your top 3 soft skills that you're looking for in young students or professionals?
Number 1 is values. The values, because the points, no matter education, no matter future, no matter the story, values are the keys. It means how do you react in the normal situation and not a normal situation. So values first. After we have to decide and to think which values we focus on. This is important, and which component. That's right. And values could be like team player, sincerity, humility, simplicity, performance as well. This is quite common to say that. And the attitude. How do you see the life? How do you see the work? Which style are you comfortable to do? And it's not so common. You can see with people who are facilitator or they're not at all facilitator, or even that's right. So values, attitude, and competencies. But after, let's say competencies, it depends if you are looking for finance profile or HR, whatever. But let's say the way people are thinking, are working, what they enjoy, the motivation, and the competencies. So 4 points. But usually, you know what? The client asks us the competencies. That's it. That's why. But we need to go back. And when I hire for me as entrepreneur, come back first to the values.
Interesting. Thank you, Eric. Sarah, what about you? Top 3 soft skills. You already mentioned quite a few, but I'm making you rank it maybe a little bit.
It's difficult to rank. We have also the pillar, which are the values of the companies. So when you're a headhunter, you mention the values of the company you recruit for and general values, probably. For us, we have specific values that are, for example, humility, boldness, team spirit. We have 7 values in the Capgemini group, so we know how to select the people who are actually compatible with these values. So that this is a pillar, and then the way we interact with a person in the case studies, we need to know if there is an ability to, as I mentioned, to share one's thoughts and communicate it, and also to receive the feedback from the session, from the manager or that leads the interview session, and be able to have a free conversation over that. Because as I mentioned on the learning skills is also how it starts with receiving feedback and be able to integrate them quickly. So I would say that the 3 pillars that I have in mind when recruiting.
Great, sounds good. I wanted to come back. We started talking a little bit about online onboarding, and then we said we'll talk about it later. So I'd like us to come back to that now. So how has it worked out? Sarah, I'd like you to take this question first about what does it feel like for companies to have colleagues even start their first day and their first months of work without even meeting team members? How does it work out, and what has been your experience?
Yeah, so we have in the practice where I work, actually, I didn't mention that when I introduced myself. I work in the workforce and organization practice of Capgemini Invent, so we are quite people-oriented. So we already have in place an onboarding process with our practice that consists in welcoming the person in the office with a buddy that gives the clues, the informal clues for the person to navigate in the new environment, but also with the talent leader, who is someone who helps the consultant to progress in the long term in his career in the company. So this hadn't changed. It has just changed in the virtual way. So we made sure to transfer and to organize this process in a Teams mode or virtual mode when not physical presence is not possible. But we try as much as we can when we start a new project with a new joiner to have 1 or 2 or 3 days per week in the office, so that we have face-to-face conversation, especially in the beginning of the projects or in the beginning of their integrations. So this is how it works. And we have also general plenary session where we introduce the new joiners, so we make sure everyone is aware of who is joining when.
Great. Why don't you share with us, because you said you have an office buddy and then a talent leader. Are they both from the same team, and what is somebody hierarchically higher up than somebody else? Like, is a team leader somebody who's more senior within the organization? I'm sure that could be interesting for us to know.
Yeah, a buddy can be from any level. It's a relationship, informal relationship, I would say, on a voluntary basis. So it's not managed by the HR. It's more managed by our teams of consultants who manage the onboarding phase. And the talent leader is more HR related. They are selected by the HR and the head of the practice. They are hierarchically more experienced than the new joiner, and they help them and they represent them during what we call the people reviews that we have every 6 months. And along the way, they have coaching sessions, some meetings in case of questions. So they are talent developer and talent leader. That's how we call them. So yes, that's my answer.
Thank you. Eric, do you want to talk to us a little bit about onboarding, maybe with your clients, or even for you, if you've had new joinees?
Sure. For my company, we have. I used to have a newcomer when I come back from my former vacation last year during the COVID, and it was very strange to welcome someone when, in a way, no life in Shanghai when she started. In the way we did it. And after, it was very quiet. And some competitors explained to me they used to do the same online onboarding because they don't have a choice, so they did it. I didn't have a situation in my clients, and we come back to the normal life. So it means because in China now we have very, very few cases now about the virus, so it's quite. This is very positive. So. But we push as headhunter to prepare the orientation program. It means to, for example, to have the labor contract, to have a computer, to have information, and to be welcomed by the team and by the managers. And we say that because sometimes people, they don't do this, they don't do that. So it's always the same story to repeat and repeat and repeat. Because in our job, sometimes we have a big corporate companies, so they know, like Capgemini, or sometimes the startup, they don't know, they don't think, or there are so many things to do. So try to remind the operations and to be sure, please don't forget to welcome someone, to welcome your team members, and to set up training program, meeting, to discover things.
Interesting, because what I'm also hearing is that, yes, there is the whole digital piece of integrating people, but at the heart of both your answers, I'm seeing there's the human part of it, which everybody's trying to keep together and to welcome, because I kept hearing the name of welcome sure. them, make them, put them at ease very often. So that's nice. And before we head to another segment, I'd like to know, is there any, maybe there isn't, okay? I'm gonna go easy with you, with the two of you, but is there any trend that you've seen in terms of the recruiting aspect? Anything that is shifting, changing, and somewhere else that it's going in the future? Just from the recruiting point of view.
No. Actually, from my point of view as a whole headhunter, no change. Because always the same story. We communicate a lot about the new technologies, the new tools, the new IA, whatever. But this is marketing for the big corporate companies. in my office, my company is based in a co-working space with many startup companies, and this startup, they do like before. I try to do like before. So we have a big gap sometimes with a very mature company and very new one company. And for example, I have one client, there are only 2 people. So it's quite tough to attract, to find the third one or fourth one consultant, for example. And the trend is always the same, to set up emotions, to set up sincerity, to explain the project of a company. So always come back to the same story, who you are, what is your vision. I remember I used to be students, we talk about vision, strategic, and action plans, the same story. To explain and explain and explain. After for the tools, yeah, some very, very fancy company that you're using super tools, but as a tailor-made guy, always keep just the human relation.
Great. Sarah, what about you?
Well, in the shift or the trend that can be brought up, I'm thinking about the community aspect of recruitment. We have co-optation process in place where people, employees can recommend their friends or family or network to the company, and that works well, and that's what the recruitment relies a lot on, because also it ensures that the onboarding will be successful. So for the company, it's a good point. It's a win-win situation, because also for the candidate, it's reassuring because he knows that he will be in an environment where he has some network or friends who have recommended the company. So I would say the co-optation aspect is a trend that also is developing on our side.
Great. So what we were talking a lot of during this segment was really about recruitment and retention trends and things that you're facing at the moment. Now I'd like to sort of move forward a little bit and talk about new ways of working and the trends that have probably come with how we run our lives and our businesses today. So for me, sometimes I do get 2 different views where I feel like, from what I understand, and do correct me if I'm wrong, that in China, life has pretty much gone back to normal in terms of work life, whereas us living here in Europe, we're still juggling the 2 worlds. Offices are not working 5 days a week. There's a lot of working from home options. So first, I'd like to kickstart this segment with your thoughts and tell us, to everybody connected here, what is the current situation? Eric, I'll let you go first for China.
Sure. I used to have a dream to be people more mature, but sometimes when I discuss with some clients, they really want to have a face-to-face meeting with people. So I promise you, because some people, they like to control the other ones, no matter they are Chinese or they are Western, the same. This is human. I have both cases every time. So the trend is much more of a mix, and maybe people are now, they are thinking more because they have more options. And but we are lucky because in China we suffer, but we suffer so less compared to what you suffer in Europe. It's true. So it means it's not the same consequence in the mindset. It means because very quick we suffer, let's say, out of what's happened in Wuhan. Let's say we suffer maybe, let's say 1 month maximum. So it means not the same consequences compared to 6 months in Europe. That's why. So because for the Chinese people, they care about the achievements, the success, the let's say the package, the inflation is, the life is like before. The life is really like before, I promise you. Only the difference is we are wearing the mask in the transportation, and that's it. And we show the QR codes to the people. But the mindset, no. After, yeah, for foreigners, this is different because we cannot come back. So after China is so huge, so I can travel with my family in China, so no issue. So it's strange. It's strange. We have really two worlds. What's happened in Asia, what's happened in China. It's like before, like some countries like Vietnam or Taiwan, they face the situation very well, and suddenly because of virus, they come back to the complexity and they suffer a lot. So this is strange. I try to influence my clients to say, please be more open, follow up let's say the desire, the options, offer more options to the people. Trust them, trust to the maturity. After the point is we hope that the white collars, they are mature, they don't play. Some of them they are, some of them they are not. So it's a mix of balance. And after we have a fantastic tool in China, WeChat, I'll talk about that. So we are using so many times this tool to work. We share information, we share messages, we share many things, and we can feel if people are reactive or not. So we are using that to say, please trust people. People are connected all the time. They can do it. They can work in normal way. That's why this is the thing. After in
Eric,
China,
if I can just interrupt, you mentioned a tool. So are we still talking about WeChat, or it's a different tool that you're talking about?
WeChat. In China, in China we are using many WeChat. Why? Because the tool is efficient. Everyone is sharing, is very, very easy, and very, very stable. That's why. And we are using, maybe some people, I'm sure all the Chinese people, they know, sure. For foreigners, they don't know, these tools is a mix of, let's say, at the same time, a payment tool, communication tools, and working tools at the same time. So very, very, very convenient.
Yeah, I've heard very good things about WeChat. So yes, we're aware of it here as well. Sarah, do you want to tell us a little bit about how it is for Capgemini and here in France? Do you go back to office all the time, or do you work remotely? What is the situation on the ground?
Yes, so the situation is has been dependent on the government policies, I would say, for some time, because we had the curfews. Until today, it was to 6 p.m., then to 9 p.m. Today is to 11 p.m., which is good news for the terraces, restaurants, and also for work if you want to stay longer. But it has been hybrid. Some companies has asked more or less easily to come back to the office. It depends. Usually it was more French traditional companies that asked this in September, for example. Startups were really agile. They, from last year, beginning of last year, they had already planned to have a full remote workplace, closing their offices. But there is this hybrid mode that I know with Capgemini, which is, I would say, mature enough in terms of technology to support this hybrid way of working, meaning being in face-to-face at the client's office and at home. And the conversation is happening with Capgemini, but also with clients on how this will be in the longer term for the company, because now we will now the situation, the restrictions are lifted progressively. We will need to think about the longer term. So the conversation is around that. Capgemini has started to work on that at a global level with many stakeholders in place, from finance, HR, real estate, with the company board, to see what will be the global policy and what will be the localized policies depending on local regulations. As we know in Europe, especially in Germany and France, we have strong relationships with the unions, so we need to negotiate this with them. So it's a long process, and we are currently under this process. And what I can say from also the Capgemini Research Institute that has produced research that you can also consult, and I can give you then the source, future of work from remote to hybrid. There is a trend on the fact that many leaders in the way it's half the leaders are expecting a hybrid way of working, generalized. And there is an expectation for 70% of the employees to have also a hybrid way of working. So there is a need to combine these expectations with the internal regulation, the internal policies, because it's also a talent attraction challenge. People will think about also moving to other cities. That's a trend that is growing. So there is also a need to think about how to deal with this situation and to enable it if you want to make sure to retain your employees. Otherwise, they will opt for a company that has more flexible policies. And there was also, from I would say, executive point of view, not only a talent consideration, but also a financial or real estate consideration, thinking about the fact that they realized that last year there was a gain in productivity of 30% from employee. This proves that remote working works. And the other side is that we need to take care about the risk of anxiety, burnout, or isolation that it can also incur. So there is also a HR role to play on that, combined with this increase in productivity. And the last point on productivity and efficiency is on the real estate part. And that there is also an opportunity for companies to rethink and reinvent the way they see their offices, not only being offices where I work and I produce, but offices where I meet people, I organize workshops, I interact, and that would not be the traditional offices that we've had, but new workspace hubs, co-working spaces as well. So it may also generate these conversations.
Great, lots of really good quality content. I'm glad you're on the panel to share these information with us. So I really liked also the concept of really heading from remote to hybrid. I guess that is also some of the trends that we see coming up. And Eric, for China, I do see how you've said it multiple times about how in China, generally people like to meet each other. Face-to-face contact still remains at the core of human interaction. And for you, it's also been a way in which you could have a little bit more work from home option being pushed back to people once in a while, which is quite nice. And for us here in Europe, we're still living the hybrid life. Even I go into work twice a week for the moment. And I guess we'll keep increasing that as we go along. And I've even regarding the trend for real estate, the same conversations have also been happening in India, because a lot of companies have reduced also ever since the pandemic has hit office spaces, because they are talking more and more about nomad desks and working spaces where you don't have 100% of the staff every day, and having on an average maybe a 60% of a staffing with work desks available and everybody rotating and deciding which day they come in and they don't, which, to be honest, 10 years back in India was impossible. We couldn't even dream about it. So that shows like a really big leap in the mindsets.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention also not challenge, or another aspect is also the environmental aspect, because this mode, this way of working, will also enable to save some energy related to travels. though I am aware that we consume energy also at home, but we will also be able to decrease in the number of travels we had in the past and influence our clients to do so. So that's also a trend that is going on related to the net carbon zero objectives that companies have more and more in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. So both of you, if I were to ask you your personal opinion, do you think we will go back in the future to even 100% working out of offices only? Do you see that as something that going back to the very traditional way of working that we had a couple of years back? Do you see that as even a possibility or not at all?
We open the options. Now we have the options. This is great because before we are very conservative and classical, no matter people or top management. Let's hope it should continue. Let's hope that.
All right.
I think.
Yeah, Sarah.
Yes,
tell us.
The options will be also open. I personally don't believe in the full remote mode, except for some positions, freelance jobs or some entrepreneurial positions. But for big companies, I don't really believe in the full remote mode. But I think that letting the options of being at the office or being in a hybrid mode will continue, and that's a trend that will be a longer term. Yes.
Excellent. And tell me, what is your perspective? Obviously, when people don't always maybe see each other at the same time, what effect do you think it has on loyalty, employee loyalty to companies and team building? Because we haven't explored that aspect of it yet. So how do you see it impacting our lives from a team perspective?
You need to compensate by some discussion. One of my team members is based in Portugal, in Lisbon, and we discuss every week. We have a video meeting, we have a weekly meeting with the team, and we have a normal discussion like we are working together, but we don't see each other. So we compensate like this. So it means just do what you can do and do it in a nice way, and just be available if you need, and propose the things. People just want to call you, can call you, discussing. If people just want to share, can share. That's why. After, paradox is we need to deliver, and we need to deliver no matter the business, whatever. So set up the link with people first. Say just to be polite at the beginning. It's normal, because I say that because some clients, they are not polite at all sometimes with people. I can feel, and we have a situation. So respect them, no matter the level, no matter the work. The things
we can't. Yeah, we just lost you for 1 second. Yeah. We're back.
And yeah, it means other things like we have to do, and react. Oops, sorry. And because someone tried to call me at the same time. Sorry. And sharing, doing, respect your word, and be available.
Great, sounds good. And you, Sarah, what do you think?
Yes, loyalty is a hot topic, and it can be addressed from different views. I think it can be reinforced by, in this spirit situation, by a new culture or a strengthened culture of trust between managers and their teams. So that's a criteria of loyalty that will be important. It can be also facilitated by the qualities and the soft skills of the managers, being able to interact in this new way of working and respond to these new expectations in terms of authenticity, empowerment, or ability to connect. And another aspect is more about the processes that the company has in place, but has had in the past as well, and not only due to the pandemic, in terms of career development, transparent career development, in terms of performance management, onboarding, and all the employee experience that we may have in the company. But it is all the more important now as we work sometimes on the distance and virtual modes. So that reveals the main aspect of the positions and the main expectations of the candidates and the employees.
Excellent. Sounds good. I'm just going to bring you back a little bit to something that we spoke earlier about skills. I was also curious to know a little bit about the language skills. So I'd like to come back and shine a little bit of focus on each country and say, for China, Eric, how important is English? How important is Chinese? What role does that play? Because we're going to start looking at a little bit more detail on the skills part of it.
Thank you. The absolute priority is Chinese in China and in English. French, it's just a plus. It's a gift. And for example, we need to find 40 people, so 37 Chinese, 37 English speakers. And we need to find three foreigners and need to find one Chinese speaker. So two English speakers and one Chinese speaker. The good news is more and more we have a great people with a high level of Chinese, thanks to education, thanks to university, thanks to background, compared to before. The good news, the whole people like me, more and more we speak English. This is great because sometimes we have a big surprise sometimes. So the priority, English and Chinese. And after I'll tell you the truth, for the bad news is more and more tough for foreigners to find a job in China. It's possible, sure, but before it was much more important. The switch is more and more strong, and we focus more and more on local citizens, local Chinese. So you have a let's say ABC, so it means American born Chinese, or you have European born Chinese sometimes. What is super great to have both culture, but the trend is very, very strong. So we need to know that.
Okay, so we've made note. So Chinese and English, most important. And the market becomes a little bit more restrictive in this current situation for foreigners. So really fewer roles, and we need to probably use a little bit more of our network in the local country if we want.
Exactly.
Because I'm going to plug in here saying like there's Audencia and the Audencia alumni network that could help.
It's true. Capitalize with the senior alumni, capitalize with the other one communities, and so we are lucky in China, like in many countries, we have many events, and it means it's very easy to have some from business school point of view, from from European Chamber, French Chamber, country chamber, or just events for business. And sometimes it's free, sometimes it's quite cheap, so it's quite reasonable, and people are quite open to meet. Very easy to share. This is we need that, and the point is, out of a language is to give desire, to find something, to give desire, not to inspire is too much, but to give desire. People will help usually.
Excellent. And also the networks such as where we are connected right now, the CCI networks, which are very powerful around the world, and Again, for China, I know they play a really important role. So that could also be something that could help people who want to integrate into these markets. Sarah, what about you for France? How important is French and the English? And if there are any other languages?
Well, French is a must-have, I would say. It's always a must-have. For consulting roles, English is mandatory, so we test it during the interviews, because we are an international company with many, almost half of our workforce in India, many also employees in North America, in Asia as well. So we can be also exposed to projects for the group, which requires the English language, and also for our clients, where we have also some international engagements with them. So that's the two main languages, and well, if there's something else, that's a plus, but that's not mandatory.
Excellent. We have only 20 minutes left. I haven't had any questions come up in the chat. I have been looking out for it. So to everybody that is connected to us today at this conference, I'm sure Eric and Sarah would love to answer your questions. So, so please feel free to type in the chat box, and I will take your questions as they come along. Okay, feel free, because I think it's a great opportunity for you to get some perspective from them. Okay. Moving on, I'm actually quite curious, Eric, since you've got the experience in France and now you are in China, tell me, have you seen any big differences in the skills that we're looking at between populations? And I'd like to know a little bit more from you on that.
Many. Let's say normally no, but we have. And the difference is the perspective of timing. It's a consequence, because in Asia, or at least in China, the time is now. The time is now. What does it mean? In Europe, we have a meeting, we organize a rendezvous, an appointment, whatever. It's let's say 1 week, in 1 week. In China, it's tomorrow or today. This much more. So people push you all the time. So you need to face the situation. It's very funny. It's not the same. And sometimes we are discussing with some Chinese people based in France. We can see they change. They become French because it's normal. And if you don't reply as soon as possible, it's not normal. People are surprised in China. Huh? It means you need to reply very quickly. If not, it's like impolite, quite strange. Anyway, this is just something very, very strong. You need to accept that. And let's say the difference is in Europe, thanks to education, we are more free to operate, to do actions, let's say to do the delivery, whatever. In China, thanks to education system, is more structure. So you need to explain. You need to design the framework actually. So if you are managing Western people, just sharing the objective. If you are managing some young Chinese talents, you need to design the process, what you can do. Very, very different. Some people, they know both because they studied abroad, or they have some experiences in international companies, so they know, they mix together, but it's not the same. And you need to check, you need to explain. So in a way, for the Chinese talents, let's say, please be more confident, please trust you. Try it, and if you do a mistake is better than compared to nothing. It's true, and because sometimes the young talent, they don't want to do some mistakes, and they're very cautious in a way. And what is very complex is, thanks to the China booming economy, the young talents, they don't know the difficulties. They have difficulties, sure, but it's not the same compared to Europe. And when they have difficulties, they decide to leave. So the consequence for us is when we hire some talents for us or for clients, we need to find a resilient people. Resilient, it means I have difficulties, I face the difficulties, I find the solutions. I didn't decide to leave because it's crazy. In China, everyone, it's not true to say that, but Chinese people can find quite easily a job because the market is very, very important. So it's like how parents in Europe, we call that the 30 Glorieuses. Yeah, this is incredible in a way. So it's quite easy to find you have a difficulty to change. It doesn't matter in a way, especially in a big cities such as Shanghai, Shenzhen, and the big one cities like that. So I try to, when I discuss with young talents, Chinese young talents, I try to push about that to say, face the situation, try to have one cycle. In Europe, the cycle to work is, let's say, 3 years. 1 year to discover, 1 year to start to perform, 1 year to perform and prepare the next step, 3 years. In China, the cycle is 2 years, less than 2 years. And after 2 years, people, they want to leave. So no matter you are a super manager in China, you are in danger with your team between 2 years and 5 years is a dream. When people say 5 years is fantastic. So you need to think about the next step to promote, to increase the responsibilities and to increase salary, title, whatever. So we need to think about that. And what it's less compared to Europe. It's quicker in China compared to Europe.
Great, good perspective. Very interesting to hear that, because it's not always the same here in Europe. And Sarah, for you did mention how you also have teams around the world. A lot of it also in India. How does how does that work for you when you work with virtual teams, maybe around the world? What do you see coming up which could be different in the skill sets or the talent?
So as far as I know from the Indian market, for example, I know that the Indian market is even more competitive, even more volatile. So there have been a project last year on talent for India in the group to deal with this topic and be able to offer the best employee experience to retain the Indian talents within the company. And also not to have them considered as a delivery center only, but a real part of the company with impact and so on. So competitive talent race in India, in companies in countries such as UK, North America. There is, as I worked also in London for 1 year in the London office, there is a different way of practicing consulting, more solution-oriented, more practical than in France, where we think about the concept. We think a lot of time about the concept, and then we put this into action. In the UK, we do the contrary. We test, we try, we learn, and then we redo again. So that's a different style, but still interesting to deal with. And I haven't, unfortunately, worked a lot with East Asia. So I'm happy to hear it from Eric's perspective.
Yes, absolutely. And
I would like to add something, and very, very
Sure.
crazy. I'm very surprised. I discussed with many candidates, Chinese candidates. They run many processes at the same time. So it means they have a choice. And my job is to convince, not to convince because it's already too late, but to really understand what is the project of the lady or the gentleman, and what is. And I discussed with, for example, one an engineer gentleman. He used to be fired by his former company, and CEO asked me try to help him because he's a nice guy. I did it. I don't know if it's true or not. The guy told me he ran 8 recruitment process, 8 as a Chinese gentleman. So wow, and you can feel. So it means it's like they go to the store, they choose. It's like consumption of a job in a way. So it's crazy compared to what we have in Europe. So,
Yeah,
so I think at the
absolutely.
beginning we need to be very, very sure what do you want to do, for which reason, and what should. But sometimes they know, sometimes they don't know at all. So it's very, very tough. And after, more they have experience, more people they know much more what they prefer, what they don't prefer. But it's so crazy.
Yeah. So if I understand you right, Eric, you're saying how for one job there could be up to 8 rounds of processes involved, or one person has 8 offers or 8 propositions.
8 offers. Exactly.
That's a lot.
One gentleman say, I have 8 process, 8 options, 8 companies. Could you help me to choose? Wow. I say, it means, I say, did you just run? So you are running the process, or did you receive an offer letter? Say, I received, I don't know if it's true or not. I received an 8 offer letters. No way. I cannot, in a way, I cannot believe. But it's still possible. I'm following some talents because they are great for many reasons. And I propose 1 project, 2 projects, 3 projects. They say no because blah, blah, blah. And I say, I have many options, but I don't know which one is the good one. Could you imagine that? Maybe because Shanghai is the economical capital of the country. So very strong from FMCG, retail, new technologies, and luxury or services.
Okay, excellent. We have one question coming in from the audience. Okay, so it says about that it's about employee talent retention. Okay, so it says, do you have any ideas or tools to keep employees motivated and fully involved in the company's life and keep them happy? And they say, obviously, excluding salary increase, of course. Sure. So what is your recommendation?
Always go back to the common sense. Do what you say what you do, try to share the rules of the game, and try to be an example. So it means be as a manager or as HR, really be an example. Some of them they are doing, some of it not, they don't do. Yeah, that's right. So and to respect them, really to respect them. To respect them, it means polite, sharing the things, explaining the things. But sometimes in China we don't do that, no matter Western or Chinese. We don't, unfortunately, because we don't have time, because no need, because people that don't want to share. When I share too much with my team, I explain the stakes, the situation, blah, blah, blah. I can feel some of them, they don't care. Some of them, I say, you talk too much. But I do that with my French perspective when I do with my former colleagues in France, because it's no more over will last. So it's true. And after, we try to secure them, but sometimes when it's too late, it's too late. And when it's too late, people, they want to leave. And if they left, I have this situation, they left one time, and I say, can I come back? Sure. So I have 2 options. Some people left again later or stayed. Very funny. So be, in a way, just be flexible, but please be ready to prepare the backup solutions.
Okay, nice. So respect them, talk to them, explain, but also if they choose to go, have your backup plan ready as a boss, as a manager, as a head of an organization, so you're not left without talent. Okay, Sarah, what about you? What is your advice to this person on motivating and retaining talent?
Well, that on what I mentioned earlier, the culture of trust. So there's an organizational perspective in terms of culture that the company will implement. if you implement and you diffuse, you instill this culture of trust, not just meaning that's the culture and having them on a poster, that is not sufficient. It requires many change management around that, equip managers with how to deal with the trust. How do I trust people? How do I avoid to micromanage? How do I develop my personal skills to have this trust with and to let more autonomy in the decision making of my my employees? So equipping the manager is also very important. Putting in place also a culture of continuous feedback, so that we know we can tackle what doesn't work with the employee. Sometimes some people leave because they are frustrated about some things they didn't say, and if you open this conversation either with a manager or a talent leader or a neutral third party, it's also enabled to express it. And it is half of the work, actually, to express this and to tackle it. So also rely on data. We have pulse survey, regular pulse survey that are anonymous. And we share the result. The results are shared with the head of practice so that he or she can know what are the main issues of the teams. So we used to tackle the problems that were raised by providing an action plan and being transparent about the action plan to the teams and the employees, so that also it reassures on the fact that we are listened to. And if we think about tools, I have some examples because we are now companies, we will think about what tools they can implement. But for example, Microsoft has implemented Viva, which is a well-being platform to manage work
you
from
said
home.
Viva.
Yes,
it's called Viva.
Microsoft. Viva, V-I-A, which is a well-being platform that they have implemented to manage the well-being in the hybrid mode. There is another one called Thrive, founded by Ariana Huffington, who was the founder of the Huffington Post, but she's now into well-being. So she provides also this kind of well-being platform, but this is more for the well-being and mental health or physical health. So that's the second part of the aspect, if I answer the questions on the larger aspect.
Excellent. Sounds good. I've made note of Microsoft Viva, V-I-V-A, and also our Huffington Post, Ariana's Thrive Global. Okay.
Right, yes.
Sounds good. We have just 4 minutes left before we conclude. I'd like to just maybe, for you very, very briefly, one tip or advice to students who are connected here, who are keen on knowing what to do for their future. So really just one top tip, each one of you. And later I'll go into one top tip for HR professionals or business heads connected here during this conference. Okay, so I'll let you do briefly for students first. Eric, if you want to go, one top tip.
Sure. For the students, please think about your future, and for that, meet people, discuss with senior alumni or friends, discussing about the job, and please daring is a key. Discuss and try to have a conversation about people to say, what do you do? What do you like? What is the day-to-day things? What is day-to-day operations? And you can feel if you are comfortable or not. If you can, could you see you to do that? And during the internships, try and meet people. Just go out, and if you don't know, but do that during all your career. No matter you are junior or senior, benchmark, discuss, and don't be isolated. Many people, they stay in the same company and they stay in the same function. In our job, we are lucky. We benchmark every day, every sector, every company, every level. So we have many insights. You can feel what's happened. So this is for the young talents, and for HR.
Yes.
HR is very, very, very tough because you are in between. And I can feel the complexity of the situation sometimes. because it's very, very complex. So I say keep your values, keep your common sense, and please do the things as a leader like you are, but don't do to the others that you don't want to do for you. I would like to say that. And facilitate the things. As entrepreneur, the mindset with HR is different. HR is normal. They are trying to be conservative, to protect the organization, to anticipate the organization. In the business part, we try to design the future, to take more risk. So as a HR, you need to facilitate. It's better to facilitate the things, to take some risk, minimize the risk. Sure, that's why, but to take this risk.
Yeah,
and but
sure.
Because
Okay. Thank you, Eric, for those wise words. Sarah, very quickly, we have just 1 minute left. So one top tip for students and one for organizations and HR people.
Yeah, if I have one advice for students on top of Eric's one, is to be not being too stressed about the future, because the career is really long. We can move, switch for jobs, so we can also opt for a major at Audencia and then opt for another pathway. So that's not a big deal. That's not a big issue. It's important to talk to many people so that you know, and be authentic in the way you choose your options, your first job, and then your switch. So that's an advice for students. For HR, I would say HR needs to be in the center of the conversation with other stakeholders, so they are even more at the center of the conversation, and they shouldn't be alone on that. So they need to liaise with executives and business. Also real estate, so they shouldn't lead the conversation alone on the new ways of working and the new trends that are happening, but being culture shaper, business partners, talent developer, interacting with other functions. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I think we've come to the end of our session. So personally, I want to say a big thank you to you, Eric, and you, Sarah, for these very wonderful inputs that we've had. We see beyond technology, beyond digital, at the heart of everything, there's still human. And even though we're talking about two very different countries, we're still seeing lots of common threads and common ideas. So thank you for your perspective. I also want to thank the entire CCI France China for network for allowing us this, along with my team back at Audencia, Patricia and Joy, for helping organize this, and to obviously all the people listening to us and connecting here. So that's it from me. Alexandre, do you want to say like a final word?
No, thank you, Shyla. I think you summarized it pretty well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us online tonight. Thanks a lot as well, Shyla, for moderating tonight's event. And of course, yeah, a big thank you to Eric and Sarah for sharing the insight tonight. It was a very interesting event for everyone. We will come back to you all with the replay of the event. And also, if you want to contact Eric, Shyla, or Sarah by email, we will help. Thank you very much again, everyone, and wish you all a pleasant evening for those people connected in China.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, bye-bye.